somebody I would record this too, so I'll record it. Okay, cool. Let's get started. Let's do this. All right, full screen. Come on, man. Okay, cool. No questions, so we're good to go. All right, well, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. I'm Andrew Lund, the product sales manager for our wireless IoT products. Technically, I joined the team just after the Advantech acquisition as part of the B&B group, and so every once in a while I want to just get in front of you guys and share what's going on. You know, I chat and email with several of you every day, so and I certainly enjoy that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about we're going to be kicking off this series here, and again, you can chat in questions. If there's a audio problem or something like that, just let me know. I muted everyone, but you can unmute yourself if there's something that you're just dying to chime in on. That's fine too. So yeah, like I said in the invite, I did a training series for our IIoT channel partners and our IIoT key account managers and Online team, and I wanted to just do that with you guys too. I was going to do a super condensed version at the kickoff meeting. This will be better anyway. What we'll do is just really short, like I said, 40 minutes max material every 2 weeks. Monday this time seemed to work for the other team. I don't know, nothing works for everybody, but we'll do our best. So the 6 parts of the series are, well, I think I put it in the invite. This basically we're going to do an overview of the fundamentals of what I mean anyway by wireless IoT. Then we'll talk about LTE, LTE like remote management software, VPN software, LoRaWAN, and some of the wireless sensing options, including the Wizard Mesh. We'll talk about industrial Wi-Fi. In the 5th session, we'll do industrial Wi-Fi, and then in the final session, we'll just do like a story time, basically, just stories from the field, several that you haven't heard, maybe a couple that you have, but that's basically what we're in for this training session. And yeah, it looks like, man, this is awesome. Quite a few people. I'm going to the chat screen, so no chat messages yet. All right, that's cool. All right, during this session, and that is a less hirsute picture of your presenter there in the bottom right-hand corner. Yeah, chat in questions, please. Hey, this isn't a tip kind of for organizing. So, you know, like you guys, I see presentations all the time, and I'm never quite sure, or rarely quite sure, where to store this stuff or how to get access to the material. And I think that problem is probably amplified across the embedded and industrial teams. So I have a link here, and I'll share this deck with you. But basically, what I would do is figure out a way to categorize this by the following way: LTE routers, wireless sensing, and industrial Wi-Fi. Okay, so those are really the 3 big categories that we'll cover throughout the sessions. And the link that you see on that right-hand or left-hand tab column is hyperlinked to a Dropbox folder with all this material in it. I'm happy to provide stuff. I mean, I really want you guys to engage me anytime there's a project for this. I can help, you know, harness resources and answer questions and things like that. But this is some material you can use to self-service in that way. Okay, so now there's you know, basically look at what we're going to cover today is a segment of products that is designed for growth, right? Like newer products, newer technology anyway, and technology that's not usually what you're selling today. It's what we find is that this stuff tends to be door openers too in some cases, right? Or opportunities, you know, that we've seen with the embedded team before, where I'm selling a SOM or I'm selling an embedded PC, but I'm also selling the LTE portion as well and differentiating myself. So that's the basic idea. If you want the kind of the you know, I guess big picture of this is from the industrial IoT architecture side. What we'll cover in these sessions is the wireless communication, wireless sensing, and some of this value add software. Okay. So Let's start off with a few technology terms that are newer, let's just say. Wizard, of course, that's from the B&B acquisition. That's a low power meshing protocol. What's key about that is that it's our only mesh technology, right? So mesh is, you can picture the topology graph, I guess, but or image, but basically the Wizard protocols are for low power meshing in RF challenged environments, and those are I'll show pictures of those later here and describe it. LoRaWAN is long range wide area networking. This is like really high power, long distance, relatively low power, very secure point-to-point networking. So it runs over 900 megahertz. It's point-to-point. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Cat-M, and the kind of the other side of that, of the Cat-M coin, is narrowband IoT. Those are typically mentioned in the same breath. These are technologies that use a SIM card, and they're, it's a cellular connection. So Cat-M, category M or Cat-M1, and then narrowband IoT. So I'm just keep checking chat because I don't want to miss that if anybody has questions or audio problems. But so far we seem to be good. Okay, so instead of just listing new technology terms like this and kind of describing them, I find it can be helpful to advance the slide. Yeah, okay, to create these two categories, right? So basically there's some products that require a SIM card and some that don't, right? Wireless IoT is basically just kind of split down the middle here. So when you're engaging customers and, essentially the cell routers, and then there are a couple, at least one cellular sensor node, right? These are on the left-hand side of this screen. The cellular routers we've talked about for quite a while now. The sensor nodes are relatively new, and we'll talk about those presently. The products that don't require SIM cards, Wi-Fi access points, Wi-Fi sensor nodes, LoRaWAN, Wizard nodes, and gateways, with a caveat that there are some gateways that do use a cellular connection. Like this is a LoRaWAN gateway with a LoRa antenna for LoRa, and then two Cat-M, and I'm showing my screen, hopefully this is showing up, and then two antennas for the diversity on the cellular antenna side, or the cellular WAN connection side. But what I think this is pretty helpful also is this this analogy to a wireless to a highway. Okay, so the cell carriers, they buy, develop, and charge for access to the high-speed LTE network, right? That we all use on our phones and tablets and stuff. To think of that as like the high-speed highway, right? The fast lane. Adjacent to that, you have this, and you have to have a SIM card, obviously, for that. But the carriers, as part of their highway development, have also developed this, or have also made available, I guess I should say, access to like a service road. Okay, so narrowband IoT, LTE, Cat-M, those are technologies that use the carrier network. They require a SIM, but it's not high speed. It's not low latency. It's like if you got off the interstate and were bumping along on the service road, that's kind of what the LTE network is like. Separate to that, completely separate, but included for the purposes of this analogy, are the unlicensed network. Okay, the unlicensed technologies like LoRaWAN, which uses 900 megahertz in the Americas, Wizard, Wi-Fi. I suppose you could think of others, but those are the main ones that we have in our product set. So those are again, if this analogy is helpful, great. If not, just forgive me. But I think it can be helpful to understand, like, okay, there's high-speed LTE routers, that require a SIM. There's low-speed routers and sensor nodes that do require a SIM. And then there's this unlicensed technology that doesn't require any SIM. Yeah, so range versus speed. I'm not sure exactly how useful these charts are, but I'll include it in this deck, and if you want to use it in your own presentations, you can. Basically, the idea is Wizard Mesh low speed, relatively low range, node to node, but obviously in a mesh network that's expanded. Wi-Fi, higher speed, less range, and then the going on down from LTE, kind of your high speed, low speed, and then lower speed with LoRa WAN and LP WAN. All right, so far so good. This is usually the point where I would stop and ask for questions, or at least encourage you to chat in questions. So feel free to do that. This table represents a summary of all of the wireless technology that we're going to be talking about for the next few minutes, and then the next few sessions of this training series. I will take each column at a time and break it out and show specifically that column next to the technology and next to the product that's available using that technology. What's important at a high level is this is a way this is kind of a helpful slide when you're presenting to customers who are early in a design phase, or you're doing more of an educational session to talk through, Wizard Mesh, really low data rate, but really great power efficiency. So for battery powered operations or applications, LoRa WAN, super long range, lower data rates though. And again, I don't need to walk through this. I basically just explained it all previously, but you get the trade-offs, I think, and we will talk through that as we go. Okay, so the first product to look at, just as a profile, and again, this is this session here, and I'll do my best to keep it under time here. This session here is oh good, we got a good chat. Okay, yes, Michael. I'll get a question privately about 5 gigahertz. We do have 5 gigahertz products for Wi-Fi. They're in the ECI product line, and I will talk about that. Actually, here, let me just go. So if there's a question about 5 gigahertz, this ECI product line does have a 5 gigahertz option, dual band 5 and 2.4 in a access point and client kind of mode. So we will talk about that in future sessions, in the Wi-Fi session, actually. Right. So Wizard Mesh, what I was just starting to say there was that this is an overview of our lineup. So this is kind of, stuff that this is about 75% stuff that you may have seen before, but don't kid yourself that you still remember everything that you saw at a kickoff meeting, a year ago or whatever. I think it'll be useful to still pay attention. So, right, so the Wizard Mesh solution is comprised of 2 hardware elements. On the bottom, you see the Wizard Industrial Mesh node and the Smart Swarm Gateway. Now, Wizard Mesh is proprietary in the sense that it's the property of Advantech, and these 2 nodes work together. So there's no such thing as a third-party Smart Mesh node. On the node side, you see this battery-powered, magnetic-mounted IP67 Class 1 Div 2 rated sensor node. This is a tough little product, right? Do I have an example here? Oh, I do. Yes, this one happens to be LoRa powered, and I'll show that in a second. But this is the sensor node. If I had something metal, I could stick it to, and you would see it sticks, and it talks to a Smart Swarm Gateway. This will have to be a stand-in for a gateway. It's actually a Smart Flex, but same form factor. So Smart Mesh Gateway, Smart Swarm Gateway, and Wizard node. All right, and available. You can power it by battery or directly powered. A mix of different I/O options. We don't need to go into that today, but what's important about this Wizard Mesh, as I said, is it's the only mesh capable product that we have. And that's really helpful when you've got a challenging RF environment where having a bunch of $300-400 devices stuck out there that can mesh back all over a facility is really useful. For example, in a quarry. So in this quarry example, we've got a series of Smart Mesh powered wizard nodes out there. Those are the blue little hockey puck looking things. So you have to picture these on motors, on hoppers, on just basically all kinds of rugged industrial equipment that's in a quarry. In this case, this is meshing back to, this doesn't show the meshing in the best way, but it's meshed back to a smart swarm gateway that's talking cellular. We could talk Ethernet too. Those are the options. Back to an application, right? Some web application. So a common theme here for all these products is getting data or connectivity to a web application, which is different. Frankly, that's a different mindset than a lot of the industrial PC. How can I bring as much computing power in a cost-effective way to a specific product? That I think that most of the embedded projects, really revolve around. This is about connecting to web applications. Okay, so that was just a kind of a sneak peek of the or a quick summary of the Smart Mesh. Let's talk about LoRaWAN. I made this joke before. It is actually true that I have been talking about LoRa. I have had people who didn't know what it was and say that they've never heard of her. And so it's not a woman named Laura, it's technology named Laura, and LoRaWAN for the interoperable standard version of LoRa. So LoRaWAN is long-range point-to-point or point-to-multipoint. It operates over 900 megahertz, and then on top of the 900 megahertz physical layer, there's the encryption and the data, the other layers of the OSI model. What's specifically cool about LoRa? Well, let me just explain the three product options here. Oops, just a second. Oh, don't do that. Hold on. Sorry, user error here. Oh, good, some chats here. All right. Yeah, wizard is good questions. Yeah. Number of nodes. Oh, yeah, these are good questions. So 802.15.4 is like a kind of a standard frequency for it's not a standard, but it's an ISM band frequency for wizard mesh. Wizard mesh actually kind of uses some dust protocol. Latency is high, like too high for anything to control. So there's questions about latency and max number of nodes. The max number of nodes, I want to say, is 100 nodes. I'll have to double check that. And latency questions are generally, when it comes to everything except the cellular routers, latency is just too high for control. And we can talk about the specifics. I have to check that. All right, a profile of the product, of the LoRaWAN product. So I showed this gateway here. If the video is still working. This is the WISE6610. I can't really see the name, but the WISE6610 LoRaWAN gateway. This is sold in versions that support either 100 or 500 nodes, LoRaWAN nodes, and then it's connected to in that first example across there, the WISE4000. It's connected to a WISE4610 node. So the WISE4000 products have been around for a little while, but I don't think you guys have been exposed to them nearly enough. And there's some cool stuff coming out with them. So the WISE4610 is basically comprised of a wireless module. That's this wireless module, which you see is empty, except not really empty. It's just got the wireless communication element of it, a little SIM cover here to put the SIM card in for the cellular version, and then a physical I/O connector module here, right? So in this case, it's got these M12 connectors, and putting these together, I won't do it right now. Voila, screw it together. That makes a WISE4000 unit, and then those units are available in LoRa, cellular, and Wi-Fi. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I just wanted to show you real quickly what the WISE4610 looks like, and that's connected over LoRa to the WISE6610. Okay, I'll save that for later. If you could also get a wizard node, again, I just say wizard node in this case because it's that's the form factor that we all know. In this case, it's a LoRa radio, and that can also, this is also a LoRa solution, All right, and I gave away or lent the other example I was going to show you, this vibration sensor. So these are really cool little, about the size of a salt shaker, mount it magnetically or screw mounted to a motor, anything that's vibrating, for condition monitoring. All right. So those are the three product options that are end-to-end Advantech solutions. On the bottom there, that third-party LoRaWAN gateway, what I'm trying to show there is that because these are, excuse me, because these are LoRaWAN products, that means they're interoperable with third-party gateways, Multitech, Tektelic, there are a few out there, and that our gateways are interoperable with other LoRaWAN devices, sensor nodes, and so forth. So LoRaWAN is a standard. Well, okay, LoRaWAN is an interoperable standard. You see the summary there. Advantech has sensor nodes, vibrations, sensors, and gateways, and then with a bunch of different I/O options. We'll do a session just on LoRaWAN, and it'll be 2 or 3 sessions down the road. But this is at a high level. You've got the gateway. Jeez, I don't break it here. You've got the gateway. You've got a WISE 4000 option, a Wizard option, and a vibration sensor option. Okay, LoRaWAN case study. So monitoring, in this case, monitoring HVAC pumps for, we call it machine health or condition-based monitoring or predictive maintenance. Those are some buzzwords, I guess. And so this is you can see the picture here. These vibration sensors, these WISE 2410 is mounted onto a motor, in this case an HVAC motor. The serial number is programmed in. And what it does is it matches this ISO standard way of reporting vibration. We won't get into that in detail right now. It's pretty far down in the weeds. The point is vibration monitoring over LoRaWAN with Advantech 2410, the WISE 2410 and WISE 6610. Oops. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. I just answered that other question. All right. So now we get to something that's new, pretty new for Advantech. I want to clarify something actually. So when we're talking about these LTE products, LTE Cat-M, when I say something's new, what I mean is it's new to the U.S. market. Like we're actually at a point where we can bring it to the U.S. market. I never want to be in a position of sharing something with you guys that's like kind of, if I share something that's just on the roadmap, I'll be really explicit about that. So what I'm sharing today is not on the roadmap. It's on the market, and it's available. So, yeah. Okay, Cat-M. So this is the service lane of the high-speed highway, right? This is low data rates, even lower than that, frankly, in many cases, but also really low power and with pretty good signal penetration or communication resilience, if you want to call it. So I obviously don't have a cell tower to hold, but the WISE 4671, in this case, again, another version of the WISE product family that, and this is where you would use that SIM slot right here, put in your Cat-M or narrowband, carrier SIM card and connect it up. Now, let me be explicit on this one. This is not Verizon certified yet. That process has started. I don't know when it'll be finished, but we can do early beta customer evaluation with certain SIM cards that we can use. So this is coming. It's not on the e-store or my Advantech yet, but I wanted you to see it kind of firsthand. And again, LTE Cat-M with different I/O options here. I'm just showing one of these examples. Terminal block and M12 connectors and serial Modbus, different I/O options there. The other product that we have that's on LTE Cat-M is a version of the ICR. So the ICR 3200 series has LTE Cat-M all the way up to LTE Cat4, but these are cell routers, okay? And so this obviously has a SIM card, which is hidden by which is over here rather. And in the Cat-M version, there's only one antenna. and it's basically a slick way to get RS-485 and Ethernet connectivity over LTE Cat-M. I'll talk about that more later in our LTE session. Yeah, and so you got to figure. Let's see if there was the payoff for the WISE 4671, this Cat-M sensor node, is think about all the data points that you can collect if you could just take a sensor node, put it out in the field, put a SIM card in, solar power it, battery power it, mains power it, and just report data over MQTT to a web application, right? In this example for water sewage, wastewater treatment, there's a lot of things that are measured: pH, valve status, pressure, flow, organic, inorganic. I mean, there's a lot of different data points, and this is a way to just simply get them in a really efficient way back to a web application. All right, keep moving here. Yeah, good question, Tyler. Are other carriers qualifying this as well? Yeah, AT&T and Verizon, and frankly, those are the ones that really matter for just covering the most of the market. And other, it's already operable in Canada. They don't really require the same carrier certifications regime, and we could do T-Mobile as well. That would be pretty straightforward. So it's, like I said, it's in kind of a controlled release right now. Again, talking about the WISE 4671. All right, LTE routers. I've talked about this with the team a lot. What's new and important here? Because I know we've talked about this for 2 years. What's new is one thing that I just showed you, that Cat-M version of the cell router. Oh, by the way, cell carriers are offering, at least Verizon and AT&T, are offering a lower cost per megabyte data plan with Cat-M. And so some people are turned on to Cat-M just because of the data rate savings. That's cool. So there's an ICR version with Cat-M. What's also really cool about this, do I show it up? I don't think I show this in a slide until we get to the actual training session on LTE. So let me just plug it now. This is certified on AT&T's the FirstNet network. So you guys in California, especially, this is being used a lot, and increasingly in Texas too, and parts of the Northeast. What is FirstNet? I'll talk about that in a subsequent session. But real quickly, this is important, just in case you don't make it to that one. AT&T. So after 9/11, one of the takeaways was that, hey, we need a reliable, secure way for first responders to communicate. That initially was paid off in walkie-talkies and things like that. But what AT&T has done is develop an LTE first responder network. And you see advertisements for this every once in a while. That's something that we use in traffic applications, for variable messaging signs. It's used in all kinds of critical infrastructure applications can use FirstNet. So FirstNet certification, important for emergency service personnel and first responders. That's on the 3241. The other stuff you probably know already. SmartFlex, all kinds of options. SmartStart, I forgot to bring one up here, but you've seen that for a while. So smart routers with some computing and edge intelligence capability. I do want to just clarify, they're not gateways. They're not an edge computing device. This one in particular has about 1.5 gigs of user available memory. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. Powerful A8 processor, Cortex-8 processor, but really at its heart of hearts, it is a network appliance. Okay. Questions? No. Yeah. Question to every. Yeah. No. So this is different. Yen Chen had a good question about whether customers have to pay NRE to certify these. Because this is the core, the product line is a cellular router product line. We view NRE as a cost of doing business, right? So that's table stakes for us. So we pay for well, it's not NRE. We pay to qualify it. So that's on us. So when we bring this to market, when we bring this fully to market, it's already certified and operable across all carriers, by the way. So you can put an AT&T SIM, Verizon SIM, T-Mobile, it doesn't matter, Canadian carriers. put the SIM in, and it'll work in one device. Yeah, so Jeff had a question about, this is worth asking. Narrowband, is it mostly European or is it in the US? Cat-M is the dominant LPWAN technology that we see. And if you ask like cell module vendors and MVNOs, some of the people who know more than we do about this, Cat-M really does seem to be dominant. The NB-IoT launch that T-Mobile did, it doesn't seem to have really paid off. So Cat-M is the dominant low power WAN technology for cell networks in the U.S. At least that's the way it is now. Yeah. So Sean had a question. Oh, hey, we got Sean here. That's awesome. Yeah, are first responders using B&B to communicate currently? Yeah, and the answer is yes. Yeah, the first responders we actually sell quite a bit of like telematics adapters to companies who build first responder solutions. So we're more kind of a supplier in that case, or a sub-supplier in that case. But in the California, and I mentioned this at the last kickoff meeting, and we've gone a lot further with it. Caltrans is using B&B LTE routers all throughout the state. I mean, half a dozen districts, maybe more, to communicate. And at first, when I heard that, I thought, well, what's traffic like? Is traffic really an emergency thing? But then I started thinking about variable messaging signs and during earthquakes and fires, right? And then also the fact that the Caltrans district operating centers are shared by the CHIPs, by the California Highway Patrol Team. So yes, first responders are using B&B routers that are connected to traffic cameras all the time. Specifically in California, that's a major project there. Okay, question, do they all come with global power adapters? None of them come with any power adapter, like a wall plug adapter per se. They all, oh, I'm using the other box for my stand, so I can't show you. They all come with power leads. So the bare wire power connectors, like you would take and put a little clip in here, and then it's a bare wire lead to a power supply that sold separately. In general, accessories are sold separately unless otherwise stated. That's clarified on the data sheet. We do have global versions of the power adapters, though, for sure. So we have some global power, some power supply options that ship with the global adapters. Then some people want to do a cost reduction and only ship with US power adapters. That's fine too. So your question is, do we have to request once we know the country they're shipping to? No, I would just go with the global option. It's easier, and it's not that much more expensive on the power supply side. But that brings, hey, that's actually a good point. In that, in the link at the top, at the that second or third slide, where I'd have a Dropbox linked to LTE router, to all the supply. I'm sorry, to all the resources I wanted to share with you guys. This is one of the resources for the routers, the accessories. So it's a deck with pictures and explanation of all the accessories for the cell routers. So you can keep that, sort in your, wherever you store this stuff. Okay, we're getting towards the bottom of the, oh man, over time. All right, we're gonna finish this up here. So at a high level, all the products that use LTE, you have the Smart Start, which would be here. It's about the size of a little small of VHS tape, I guess. About like this. You have the Smart Flex, which is Cat 3, as opposed to the Category 1 LTE there. So Smart Start is LTE Cat 1, slower. Cat 3 is the Smart Flex. Cat 4 and FirstNet is the ICR 3241. And then, which also uses LTE, this WISE 4671, Cat-M or narrowband IoT. So those are all the LTE options. And I'm going to skip through this one because I'm going to use it later. And I got to save some of my material here. All right, so as a review, right, Wizard Mesh, low power, meshing, industrial, low data rate, LoRaWAN, gateway, and node option, these options here, right, for LoRaWAN. Narrowband IoT, also in this WISE 4000 form factor, okay, using a SIM, wireless sensing solution. Wi-Fi. Oh, I actually, I went to FedEx today and dropped off my Wi-Fi device for a customer test. Shoot. Well, anyway, I'll show you that later. So those are the wireless IoT options. I'll send out a follow-up invite or a subsequent invite for session 2. So session 2, we're going to go all crazy on LTE. Session 3, we're going to talk about software, and it's not going to be like software that one person somewhere got working, but nobody else can figure it out. It's going to be like actual device management and VPN software. Very useful. Session 4, we'll talk about LoRaWAN. Session 5, we'll do Wi-Fi. And session 6, we'll just have story time. And if you got stories for this stuff, send them to me, call me, let's talk about them. You can be a featured speaker here. So that's the session. I'm gonna stay on the line here. Keep the chat session open. Yeah, good. So Kevin has a good one here. Let's see. Huh. Yeah. I like that, Kevin. I like that. Yeah, say again.
Did you want me to expand on that or what the real details?
Yeah, please. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That sounds cool.
When I was at LXC, we helped Ricochet Wireless do all the antenna alignment for their mesh network, which became the Cisco mesh product when they bought the Ricochet assets. And that was the only network that was functioning after Katrina in New Orleans. And so all the so we and Ricochet provided tablets and local mesh access points for the ambulances and the helicopters and the military, so they could communicate until Motorola could get their voice networks back up. So after that, when I was at Honeywell, we had gotten asked to work on a project for the California fires. I don't know if you remember, about 10 years ago, the whole country was on fire.
Yeah.
And the problem was they didn't have enough communications equipment in these areas where there is no Wi-Fi, there is no cellular, there is no power. And so what they wanted was generator-based kits that would have tablet computers, a voice network that could be put on a fire truck. They put it on a hill, and it would give them 3 or 4 miles of coverage, and then they could set up repeaters to create a mesh, sort of not a mesh network, but really point-to-point with a traditional repeater system. And then down when the truck is on the network, anybody in the local area, they would get GPS data, they would get biometric data, they would get imagery, whatever else they needed. And here we have literally every component we need to deploy something like that. We have tablet computers, we have rugged vehicle mount computers, we've got in-vehicle gateways, we've got cellular, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got LoRa, Zigbee. We can do, if a firefighter goes down or he's in a high heat area, like set off an alarm, right? So something like that, where you package it together and then go to these first responder providers and say, here you go, add your software, mapping. It's a survival kit in a bag for comms, right? And that's really important.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I'm muted.
Yeah,
that's totally cool.
Honeywell just withdrew because we didn't have all the systems. We had the biometrics and we had the rugged vehicle computers, but we didn't have the networking. So I love it. That's sweet out of the box ideas. I mean, we right now, kind of the main. I'd say that I don't know that there's a lot of expertise, at least within the industrial IoT side that I'm familiar with. What we've done for packaging things up has been more like HVAC monitoring or stack light monitoring, or things where we feel like, okay, we probably know enough about this market to dip our toe in the water and do one forward integration step. But yeah, it's cool. We should talk about that more. There's a lot to do here. I appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're right at time. I'm going to send this deck out to everyone on the invite. You'll have the links in it, and then I'll send an invite to the follow-up, and we'll use Zoom again so I don't get kicked off. Sorry about that. And I really look forward to talking to you. Message me with questions and ideas, other material you want to cover, questions, anything like that. But I appreciate you joining. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll catch you later.